To talk about the broader issue of trade between the U.S. and China, we go to Steve Gill, former official in the United States Trade Representative's office. Thanks for joining us, Steve.
Thanks. I got to tell you, I'm now concerned when I go to the grocery store and they're tracking what I buy that the Chinese are going to know how many boxes of donuts I buy each week.
Well, I mean, that and anybody else who lives in your household probably already knows that. I don't know which one you're more afraid of. So I have to ask, is it a positive that we have continued to see these talks continue? Mnuchin and Lighthizer are actually headed to Beijing. I think they land today. Is that a positive that at least these conversations are going on?
Yeah, these Chinese-U.S. trade negotiations have kind of been like the old Heinz ketchup commercial, anticipation, where you just slowly wait for the drip, drip, drip of the ketchup. It does look like they're finally down to the details of line-by-line creation of a document. They're literally into the nitty-gritty of the details, and I think that we're still looking at an agreement in the next few weeks. The fact that they are into the minutia now, not to play on Mnuchin's name, is, I think, a good sign that they are at the very cusp of a deal.
You know, I do think it's interesting. You almost picked the right person just because of last name for the job. There is a lot of minutia that we're having to deal with. You know, this week, I remember on our calendar, originally, we were supposed to have a visit from President Xi this week. And, of course, those plans were changed. He's saying that they actually wanted to have a deal on the table. And the president wanted to have face-to-face talks with the Chinese president before that deal was actually made. Do you think this is still the case? Are they actually wanting to talk one-on-one, face-to-face before we can see something on paper?
I think when they show up together that President Xi and President Trump, there will be a deal that has been agreed to line by line by line before they meet. I think Donald Trump likes to go in these deals and try to negotiate them with the power of his personality. We saw that not work with North Korea, so I think his advisors have now convinced him, let us get to the minutia and the details, and then you can come in, do the handshake. You know, even though the president's going to approve what's in the deal, I think it's moving to a final conclusion before they meet and allow these leaders to try and kind of get to the final details themselves.
Well, I would never use the word restrain when it comes to President Trump. However, it seems that now with the whole entire Mueller investigation exonerating President Trump, it seems like he's got a little bit more gumption lately. He's obviously going more aggressive on different foreign policy issues. Do you think this gives him more room to work on the global scale? Was this even a part of those conversations and holding him back and doing negotiations internationally?
Well, I think it was certainly a distraction, both for him and his team. And keep in mind with the China-U.S. trade deal, there's not a deal till there's a deal. We just saw the president of China strike a deal with France to buy 300 Airbus airplanes, kind of a slap in the face to Boeing and to the U.S. I think it may be part of a tit for tat. If you're going to mess with Huawei, we're going to mess with Boeing. So they're still kind of grappling around the edges of international trade that may have an impact on the deal. But despite the kind of final pushback with Airbuses instead of Boeings, with Huawei and investigations, I think we're still moving to a conclusion that will be a good deal that both countries will embrace and will, I think, create a spark in the U.S. economy and the Chinese economy.
Well, is this a spark that is well needed? Is because of basically what's happening on the ground? I mean, we know the trade deficit with China has fallen 15% as Americans are buying less Chinese goods. That could be a positive. But is this the proof that the trade war is working in the United States' favor? Therefore, President Trump might be more willing to continue to see it happen?
No, I think everybody wants a deal. And I think while the trade balance and the trade of goods and services back and forth is important, in the final detail of what this deal will include, if it does protect American intellectual property more than we have now, if it does allow more access to the Chinese market for financial services and credit cards, if it does start to rein in the Chinese a bit in terms of the intelligence gathering, whether it's on things like Grindr or more insidious ways of gathering intelligence on U.S. and U.S. companies, I think it's going to be a big gain, and the trade imbalance is only a small part of that.
Well, it's definitely going to be a two-way street. We'll see what comes out of this weekend's meetings. Thanks for joining us, Steve.
Thanks, Scotty.